Okay, right, everyone, on three. 1, 2, 3.
It's Christmas!
'Tis the season to be jolly. From gift-giving to merry-making, from doorbells ringing to carolers singing, to you constantly being plagued by them in your nightmares. It's almost certainly Christmas. But what exactly is a Christmas? And how? And which? That, my friends, is a Christmas history mystery. Well, at least I hope it is. I mean, that is the name of the show.
In the year 080.
Oh, sorry, the date's wrong. Let me just change that. There we go.
In the year 4 BC.
Once upon a long, long time ago, Jesus Christ may or may not have been born. But when exactly, no one knows. It'll be important later. At the same time, a lot of the old religions that existed back then celebrated the winter solstice, a day where the day part of the day was the shortest bit of the day, and the night part of the day was the longest part of the day that day. Okay? This included both the Romans and the Celts. The Romans used this opportunity to celebrate their god of farming, Saturn, whilst the Celts decided to wear animal masks and cross-dress.
And if you think about it, it's even more of a shame that Boudica lost. I mean, just imagine how much more interesting life would be if the Queen's speech had the face of a corgi. Or if Santa was a drag queen. It would be a few hundred years before these celebrations and that newfound Jesus fang would finally butt heads.
In the 3rd century, Emperor Constantine changed how the Roman Empire treated these Christians after many centuries of being very mean to them.
Bit of an understatement, mate.
Even going as far as to adopt Christianity.
Naturally, this meant you had to hold a mass to celebrate Christ's birth. A Christ Mass, if you will. But when should people hold it?
Traditionally, great Jewish men, like Jesus, were thought to have both been born and been killed on the same day. But his death was already a holiday, and you need all the holidays you can get when you're convincing people to join your religion. So, Constantine saw this and went, "Oh, would you look at that? Mine!"
And so Christmas was celebrated at the end of December.
Records of a Christmas Day feast go back to the 4th century under Constantine, and every year it got more and more elaborate. As Christianity, and therefore Christmas, spread, it merged those old world traditions within itself. A lot of the old pagan beliefs eventually were added into the stew of traditions. Some of the most Christmassy bits of Christmas celebrations today can be sourced back to Yuletide, such as the Yule log, and the term Christmastide. From there, Christmas took hold of the world, well, the Christian world. The Western Christian world. And celebrate people did.
Here in England, the Christmas period morphed from just a few days into a few weeks of singing, dancing and drinking, turning the whole place into a rather literal festival of light. Oh shit, there's more steps.
And I do mean festival. Accounts from the time make it sound more like Glastonbury than a celebration for Christ.
And who was headlining this medieval Glastonbury, or Glaston 12 Heights as the borough used to be called back then? Well, only the most hardcore act this side of 1400. Carol singers!
Carolers were far from exclusively a Christmas thing back in the day, but they still took Christmas celebrating to the next level.
It wasn't just your local church's boring choir singing boring music about boring Jesus. Well,
maybe a little bit about Jesus. It was his birthday.
No, it was a full-on live show with dancers and effects and everything. It was the 14th century answer to the prodigy, or the prodigal sons, if you will.
And the award for worst religious pun in human history goes to Christmas, a history mystery. I hope you're proud of yourself, because your mother sure isn't.
Folk characters all across Europe began to be celebrated as part of the holiday, usually based on St. Nicholas.
But eventually this Christmas dance party would have to end. Otherwise we'd still be doing it now. But who caused it to end, and why? 2 words. The Puritans. The Puritans. Puritans.
The Puritans were a militant offshoot of the Protestants, an offshoot of the Catholic Church, and so these offshoots hated Christmas, so off they shot to shoot Christmas off the calendar.
And I don't think I've made it clear enough, but they were
For the Puritans, Christmas ticked all the boxes for a good bloody outrage. People were having fun, and that just couldn't happen because the word fun actually hadn't been invented yet. And if that wasn't enough, they also thought it was insulting to that Jesus guy they like.
I mean, what's not insulting about celebrating a man who turned water into wine by drinking beer? God, it's just so uncivil.
When proud Puritan and dictator Oliver Cromwell headed off the royal family in the 17th century, he outright banned Christmas, along with Catholics and royalty and a load of other stuff. This was met with some people protesting for their right to hold Christmas, though the protests went as well as you'd expect from a society where everyone was a peasant.
And this is where the character of Father Christmas really began to take off. He was the hero defending the faith from the other people defending the faith.
Eventually, Christmas would be unbanned, but the problem was that the English Protestants as a whole weren't really very for it. In Scotland, it was officially discouraged, and in the New World of America, it constantly received pushback. Would Christmas celebrations ever make a comeback? Said no one, because people had started to forget about it.
So Christmas in England had gone from something everybody loved into something that people just didn't really care about anymore. It all felt dirty and uncivilised. A bit like this Christmas tree from Poundland. But then something strange happened. Nostalgia.
People started to warm to the idea of Christmas celebrating because it reminded them of the good old days. In a big 18th and 19th century wave of bringing back old stuff for fun, which had now been invented, Christmas had started to creep back in.
But it still wasn't perfect. For one, Christmas had a massive image problem.
What Christmas needed was a good old-fashioned rebrand, and who better than Victorian marketing expert Charles Dickens? For one, Dickens did some incredible spin on Christmas. He changed the focus from celebrating Jesus to celebrating like Jesus. Some traditions, like gift-giving and the Christmas dinner, had actually started to drift over to other holidays, so Dickens decided to rein them back in for Christmas.
I remember a long time ago when someone told me that A Christmas Carol is directly responsible for why we celebrate Christmas today. I just sort of assumed it was rubbish. I mean, it sounds like rubbish. But it's actually rather true. I mean, it didn't come up with any new celebrations of its own, but it made people like ones that already existed again, and in a lot of ways that's just as important. So, to recap, Christmas was around, then it got killed, and then it got brought back to life again. Geez, sounds familiar, doesn't it?
The English banks made Christmas a bank holiday in 1834, meaning that anyone that could afford it can now celebrate it properly. It was around this time that Queen Victoria's German husband Prince Albert decided to bring some of his national traditions across the border and into English society. Here and across the pond, Christmas celebrations began to get bigger and bigger, and more implanted into people's heads. In the New World, something interesting had started too. This figure made from all these little bits of all the old Christmas guys from Europe emerged. This red guy called Santa Claus. The 1820s poem called The Night Before Christmas quickly established all the things we know today, like a fat guy coming down the chimney and giving people presents.
And now we're reaching full-paced Christmas, like Christmas postcards in the 1870s, or the Christmas truce in 1914, or Coca-Cola adverts in 1931, and then the Soviets banned Christmas in the 30s, then the Nazis banned Christmas, then the Second World War happens and people ration Christmas in the 30s, then the war's over, the Nazis banned Christmas, then the Second World War happens and people ration Christmas, then the war's over and Germans unban Christmas. Then there's the first Christmas #1 in 1952, and then Christmas sales starts, then Christmas adverts start, then the final Christmas #1 happens, then Christmas and Christmas sales starts, then Christmas adverts start, then the Christmas #1 happens. In short, Christmas is great.